Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, because today we're going on a little survival journey through the backyard, because this is Grounded. Grounded is a survival game, much like many others, where you're thrown into a world with nothing but your own will to live. So you'll have to manage your hunger, hydration, health, and utilize the world around you to craft gear and build structures to really immerse yourself in a battle to keep on living. Or so you're supposed to. I, however, happen to be a complete moron, so in space fashion, this is Grounded without crafting or construction. Enjoy. Upon waking up in the kid case, one could only assume Gary Glitter had tried disposing of us by throwing us out in the backyard. Left wondering why he would do such a thing, it suddenly hit me. My age was no longer on the clock. So with that solved, the next question, why am I so small? So I went on to find answers. Finding some kind of strange device that could be extremely dangerous, my humongous brain decided to hit the blinking button. The lasers connecting to the device seem to be faulty, so my job is to go and fix them. Upon arrival at the source of the first laser, I found the problem. Lawn mites. They were going to town on the cables, so I went to go beat them with a rock. These guys, despite being aggressive, don't really pose much a threat. Unless you're in a spooky dark cave. What the fuck? Oh dear. Returning with unfinished business, finishing off the lawn mites did the trick, and the laser was back up and running. With one problem solved, we ran into problem 2. Grass. With nothing but a rock, I have no way to chop down the grass, and we look to be in a bit of a kerfuffle. But everything will be okay, because we still have a rock. Why a rock, you ask? Well, you see, rocks in Grounded are the same as rocks in real life. If you throw them, someone might just try and take your head off. So let's go throw some rocks, shall we? Being a spiffing young gentleman myself, at first throwing a rock at a lady didn't feel quite right, but I knew that was just my inner Discord moderator talking. So as predicted, Princess was sent into an absolute stonker of a bad mood and tried to put an end to my existence. Eventually, after some bob and weave, she would cut the grass for me. Classic. With the device prepared, once again it was time to risk it all and hit the blinking button. And holy fucking shit, I might have just committed a backyard war crime. After I accidentally, I will say, sent a nuke to the oak tree, I had to go and make sure everything was okay. Arriving on the scene of the mess I just created, the only thing I seemed to have destroyed was some kind of science lab. Once inside, I found a robot asking for help.
I am Burgle. I don't feel pain, but ow!
The explosion seemed to have given the tin can a speech impediment. Hitting him with a rock didn't fix anything. He did, however, give me some useful information that if I upload my biometric data, I can access another lab in the hedge, and I can find the answers I'm looking for there. While on my way to said lab, I stopped to pick up a legendary sword in the stone. It's pretty terrible, but at least we can parry now. The hedge lab. Now, to die here, I would have to be a complete idiot, as there's basically no threats. You've got some baby spiders, some evil tin cans, orb weaver juniors. All of them are completely avoidable, and to top it all off, there's no boss fight. So, unless you're an arachnophobe, it's good stuff. Entering the hedge lab for a conveniently placed zipline, I clocked in using my new biometric scan, and then I entered the password given by Burgle, Baloney1. Apparently the explosion didn't just give him a stutter, it also gave him a massive case of amnesia. For fuck's sake. Unfortunately, the password has been torn into pieces and scattered throughout the lab, so all I'd have to do is go and find them all. Look, dying here, you're not a complete idiot. Accidents happen. I know I'm making excuses for myself, but accidents happen. The Hedge Lab has been so kind to grace me with my one and only milk molar. This will be essential to prevent me getting one shot later on. Having collected all the password pieces, the password turned out to be Hedgelord67. Wendell is a married man, definitely over the age of 30, so again, for f***'s sake. The good news, however, is we have obtained our first super chip. This contains all of Burgle's favourite gooning content, so hopefully it'll spark some memories back into his dumb little tin can brain. So, returning to the Oak Lab, I gave Burgle the super chip, and lo and behold, it actually worked. Kind of. He was now aware of 3 more labs where he kept his goon stash. Since it worked the first time round, I agreed to help him, with the first location being the Pond Lab. The Pond Lab, built by Ominent for underwater agricultural research purposes. Now, you'd think with some of the biggest and brightest brains behind this operation they'd cook up some real good stuff. But no, all they could come up with was a fucking special edition pink Brussels sprout. Now, you see, when attempting to reach the lab without diving gear, it's just not possible. However, there is a solution to this. You see, I'm not the first child to be disposed of after hitting the expiration date, so I'm able to leech off of the failures of those before me and able to obtain some rotten fin flops. All I have to do is find their body in a dark crevice and become a loot goblin. So, after obtaining them and very nearly dying, with the movement increase, it makes it easier to discover locations in the pond, and after discovering enough locations, I can unlock the Mertine mutation. This will give me more underwater movement speed and more oxygen intake for a longer time underwater. This happens to just barely be enough to reach the Pond Lab. Oh, thank God. Now that I'm in the lab, the power seems to have tripped, so I'd need to risk my life once again to switch on all the breakers. The first, I barely made it out alive. The second, I barely made it out alive. And the third, I died. Now, this is a problem as dying would mean my gear loses durability, and I can't repair anything. Ever. So, the new plan was a suicide mission. You see, if I empty my inventory and set my respawn point back at the lab, dying at the switch no longer matters, and I can pick it all back up and carry on my adventure. Entering the lab through the hatch and finding another of Wendell's terminals, smashing in the password Watersports Enjoyer 42, I now knew Wendell enjoyed swimming. Very nice. Finally, I'd make it to the Megadome where I could reboot the system and get everything running again. Here I would also find a super chip containing questionable AI content, which I would return to Burgle in the Oak Lab. Next up, the Haze Lab. The haze. So apparently Weed Killer creates some kind of syphilis for bugs, an infection that seems to be spreading across the yard. I personally could not care less about that though, as all that matters to me is getting big again. And right now I don't even think Viagra will fix it. And it's a very serious problem. So let's just get back to the video. So before heading on over to the haze, I'd make a quick stop back at the hedge to grab the Rotten Ant Club. This will be very useful in a short while. Entering the haze, it becomes very obvious that once again, it's not possible to get to the lab. I can't craft a gas mask, and this time there's no dead body to loot either. The only option is to plug the Weed Killer. And again, To do that, I need gum. Of course, I can't craft a shovel to do this either. But have no fear, because a short while away is the Black Anthill. And in the Black Anthill, there are chests that could contain gum. Well, this is a problem. You see, no gum means restart. Fuck. And so, restart I did. However, this time, learning from that horrendous mistake, I started by trying to find the gum first. Game, please give me gum. Yes! That's more like it. That's more like it. You tell him. You give me that fucking gum. So, I got the gum. Now I just had to redo all my steps. Now that I was more familiar with the steps to take, getting back to where we were at is a walk in the park. Or should I say, garden. I'm sorry. Anyway, this time I would add an extra step before going to the haze. This would be to collect the rotten bee guard armor in the red anthill. This is an essential armor set for the next 2 labs, and you'll see why. When my health gets this low, it's also a problem, because I have a limited amount of healing items throughout the playthrough, and I'm going to need a lot at the end. The solution to this is the same as in the pond. I drop all my gear to save durability, go punch something in the face, and then I respawn at the nearest field station. Off to plug the leak, I ran on up to the weed killer and died. So I'd need to use some heals to actually reach the canister.
Of course, it's this gaseous crack that's flooding the entire...
With the gum in place, I could now safely traverse the terrain without a gas mask, and so, off to the lab. Problem: the lab door requires explosives. Explosives I don't have. Fortunately, these little infected weevils seem to be in cahoots with Al Qaeda, so all I'll have to do is lure one close enough to the door and watch him blow. As you can see, it worked. All there was to do now was navigate my way through the lab and obtain the next super chip. Arriving at an ominous looking corridor, this was the point of no return, as soon as I pushed the button, there she was, the lady with an STD, and she was really fucking angry. I don't know why, but my only option here is to put on my tank top and drink a Stella Artois, because this bitch is going down. Upon hitting her, 2 of her Discord moderators would appear. This would be a problem because they seem to have gained power from her STDs, making them hit really hard. After plenty of deaths, I started to pick apart a strategy where if I just loop around the room, I wouldn't have to deal with both of her moderators at the same time, and occasionally neither of them. So I could just chip away at her health using the Sacred Huck technique and rarely ever get close enough for her to splooge all over me. And eventually, after a few more failures and remembering my bee armor exists, my pitching skills had finally awakened and were homing in on the old girl's face. GG. I'm sorry I have to be this way. Now that that problem was dealt with, it's time to get into the room that she was guarding. This room's contents are 3 Brat Bursts essential for this run, and the super chip containing all of Burgle's Fansly subscriptions. And in case you were wondering why I had 2 red ant clubs that fight, Well, it's because at the super duper computer I can spend science to duplicate items that I own. This will be very useful later on, as the gear duplicated will be at full durability. Nerd talk over, time for the Black Ant Lab. In the most vile, disgusting corner of this hoarder's garden is a pile of rubbish. Home and harvesting ground for the black ants. Deep in the anthill is the final lab the lower yard has to offer. It's also home to Burgle's mentally inept cousin, so you and I are going to go pay him a little visit. Naturally, if I'm going to face the dangers of this lab, I'm going to need some more firepower. So, now that I have a few Bratbursts at my disposal, it will be the perfect time to obtain the Pinch Whacker. So, after obtaining some dandelion tufts and bombing my way into the upper yard, I took a leap of faith, safely landing in the secret lab, obtaining both the Pinch Whacker and the Rotten Berry Charm. What makes the Pinch Whacker so good, other than the fact that it came from Wendell's secret Joy robot, is that it's a tier 3 weapon that on the third hit creates an electrical explosion dealing damage and stun to anything in close proximity. This is likely why Wendell had it removed, as you can imagine, it would not feel very good. Happy with what I have at my disposal, it's now time to clear out the lab. Gaining clearance to Sector A was easy, as Wendell's passwords were now getting predictable. Sector B was very much the same story, as all the Robotrons in my way only took 2 clubs to the temple each and called it quits, so now the only thing left to do is face Burgle's deranged cousin. Alright, boss fight time. As the grimy little cunt appears, he acts as a Tesco meal deal, bringing 2 of his lackeys with him. Problem being, I only wanted the main course. On top of this, I'm hitting like a wet f***ing noodle. Not good. So, once again, I'd have to utilise the Sacred Huck technique, as this puts an end to his sidekicks real fast. I tried using the same strategy for the boss himself, but the damage was pretty awful for the stamina it consumed. At 75% HP, he enters an autistic rage and calls for backup. He also activates the laser pillar in the middle of the room, where if you lack the athleticism to duck and jump, you are completely fucked. The longer this fight goes on, the harder it is to avoid the chaos going on around the room. To make it worse, at 50% HP, not only does his steamy mood get worse, but he turns the electric pillars on the edges of the room, limiting the amount of movement available to me. The only way to see what's going on is to switch to third person during this fight. Luckily, there's no more surprises left in his Tism box, so it's just a matter of being patient and keeping an eye on the surroundings. This is easier said than done when your damage is so god awful the fight takes 7 minutes. Dude, what the f*** is this? Let's go. Knocking the old dustbin's block off, we unlock Shocking Dismissal. Shocking Dismissal is a mutation that makes it if we block or parry an attack, our next attack will do 75 additional damage and apply 40 stun. Nice. Further, upon completion of the lab, we get the next super chip showing us an additional use of Burgle's spatula hand. I want to go home. Back at the lab, we give the super chip to Burgle, and once again, he has a brainwave. Not a very good one though, as he remembers just about everything except what I need to know. Fine, I'll go find Wendell myself in the upper yard. Now, as it stands, the bugs in the upper yards will likely just kill me in one hit, so we need some heavy armour. Luckily, that is available to me in the form of the crusty roly-poly armour. Since it happens to be nighttime, it would be easier to get the piece in the sandpit first. All I'd need to do is kill an antlion guarding the caves. And after dying a lot, no! I killed it, and it was the wrong cave, so I had to kill another one. After collecting the breastplate, the second piece was sitting pretty in the rubbish bin, nice and easy to collect. As for the third, well, it was on the park bench, which I couldn't reach without a hammer or building up to it. Or so you may think. You see, when you parry a bee, they land momentarily before jolting back up, and if you get the timing just right, you can use that momentum to launch yourself up in the air. Oh my god, no, 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 no! So, collecting the last piece of armour, we were now ready for the upper yard. Arriving at Wendell's scab, all I had to do was open it up and change the fuse, which is not possible. As much as it pains me to say it, grounded is not possible without crafting. However, that does not mean I'm going to start crafting gear to decimate my foes with, and I also still have no construction on the cards. So I will use the workbenches available to me in the labs to get this done. So on a journey I didn't want to go on, first I'd kill some termite soldiers to make the termite axe to be able to harvest pupa hides, then I'd kill an ox beetle to be able to make the ox hammer, and only then could we change the fuse on Wendell's scab. And upon activating the scab, we get a message from Wendell himself, telling us of one final lab which we could find under the shed. So we're approaching the final lab. The Undershed lab. Also the place Wendell's been pent up in this whole time, so the unpleasant thought that I'll have to go visit his man cave isn't great. But if he's got the answers to help me get big again, I'll take it. Entering the Undershed, we can access the spicy safety mutation. This gives resistances to stabbing and smashing, which helps against a lot of bugs, and I think the next boss too, but don't quote me on that. Everything down in this Undershed is too big and too scary, so I just bolted past everything, including the Black Widow, which is just having a right good time down here. Eventually, we reach the lab where we discover Wendell has a taste for big, strong men. Not only this, but Wendell also likes bugs. A lot. So he decided to create a big, strong man ant thing. I don't want to think what for, but clearly he's become an old pervert. That's besides the point though, as you see this thing has roid rage. Sad to see, but he has to be put down. By us. As it stands, this fight is not too bad, as his moves are fairly scripted. The problems occur at phase 2 when he reaches 75% HP. He spawns fire ants, which wouldn't have been a problem if I had Ant Annihilator perk, but clearly I'm too stupid to plan ahead. Not only this, but the excessive consumption of protein powder has given him explosive diarrhea. This is the one move which would catch me off guard and end my existence. A lot. At 50% HP, he starts shooting rope. I don't know why, as I thought steroids did the exact opposite. Regardless, the attack just gives me a little tug and it's not really a problem. No, bro! In the late stages of the fight, he gains a lot of damage resistance, so again, just being patient is the key here. Most of the time he'd finish off the fire ants for me, so focusing on him was easy enough. So sticky. After proving to the world that steroids don't matter and that they are for people overcompensating for their tiny cocks, I unlock the mysterious Stranger mutation, which, although is RNG, it is actually my favourite mutation in the game. Additionally, I would finally get an audience with Wendell, who looks like my left bollock. He does, however, provide the information I need to get big again. Alas, we're going home. Java-matic, a coffee machine which is used to make the embiggening cocktail, which is just a fancy word for the funny little blue pill. I need this, so I'll have to go on the ultimate tower defense, defending 3 points simultaneously without building defenses. With my really bad damage, this does me absolutely no favours. So, let's do it. First things first, damage. With my current damage output, there is zero chance I'll be able to beat this. Luckily, mixers exist. Upon completion of the first mixer, I'm able to unlock the Guard Dog mutation. This allows for more damage during defences. This of course includes the Java-matic. So, time to go beat some mixers. Some of these can be really frustrating, as if I don't die trying to defend the mixer, some of the bugs will just destroy it while I'm taking a decade to kill something else. The Mysterious Stranger is very useful here as he takes some of the heat off of me and stuns some of the enemies. Oh my lord, a fucking Weevil. Additionally to this, if the bugs got too close to the mixer, I have no control over my pinch whacker's area of effect damage, meaning sometimes it would be me destroying the mixer. Despite taking 2 hours to do the hedge mixer, I can say once you learn the rotation of the bugs, it's not so bad. Finally, upon completion of the sandbox mixer, we unlock Guard Dog Phase 2, which is actually good enough for us, as the upper yard mixers are incredibly painful, or rather, I'm just bad at the game perhaps. Last but not least, we'd go on a killing spree, murdering every innocent red ant in their hill. Now, I don't enjoy doing this, as I'm not Israeli. However, it is necessary to unlock the Ant Annihilator Phase 3. After depositing the ingredients, which, yes, I had to use tools to harvest, there's now another problem. Again. I'm also forced into making a repair tool. For f***'s sake. Upon repairing the cables, it's now time for the final showdown. The fight begins with a few worker ants approaching all 3 points. Easy to deal with, I just need to be careful with the pinch whacker's electrical charge. Shortly after, a soldier ant would appear to tear up point B. With Ant Annihilator and Guard Dog, it's still light work. But what follows is where it becomes a problem. Fireflies and ants rapidly approach point A. This is the point where I realised what I'd gotten myself into. Receiving squirt from fireflies is completely unavoidable. The sticky substance slows my movement speed and makes it difficult to take out the ants, while at the same time point C is being torn up, and all I can do is hopelessly waddle around while more and more bugs appear. After dying plenty of times, it became very obvious that if I didn't die, the points would almost certainly be destroyed before the cocktail had finished brewing. So I started playing with different mutations. Note that I can only have 2 active mutations at once, so I'd need to set up quick swaps. Natural Explorer was necessary getting from point to point. With a good bit of fortune, Mysterious Stranger would also be incredibly useful, as he can ease the pressure off of me, especially during the Firefly phase. Parry Master was also good for taking out some of the bigger health bars. And it goes without saying, Ant Annihilator and Guard Dog are essential. Now I need to move here. Yes, come after me. Oh. No! Fat chud. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, you can't. Many deaths later, and after some extra preparation, it was actually looking possible. All I had to do was put all my eggs in one basket, and pray Mant would help me out each time the going got tough. No! Shit! Spawn, you fucking knobhead! I was just calling myself a knobhead there because I didn't heal.
I'm crying! Yeah, that's more like it!
Oh, why are you still hitting? No, bro! Every time I edged closer to that sweet victory, I was making such elementary mistakes, likely due to not reaching the later phases of the fight enough. I just didn't know what bugs would come out of which direction. But one thing I did know for certain is that it's only a matter of time before I clinch the win. Come on, finish it. Yes!
Oh my god!
Yes!
Oh my god!
Oh! Oh, we fucking did it! Oh! Holy shit!
I think we've done it! Though the situation
What a
did
fucking
seem
miserable
rather
game.
precarious for a moment there.
And clinch it we did. So now, we can go on to collect our embiggening juice and leave this godforsaken garden for good. Before leaving, Wendell did try convincing me to stay and help him with some of his questionable experiments, but clearly he's a deranged old perv, and I'm not really about that life, to be honest. So, on that bombshell, I'm going home. Well, if you've made it this far in the video, all I can say is thank you for watching, and I can only hope you enjoyed it. So why not give us a like? There is more Grounded has to offer, but that'll be a story for another day. Once again, all that's left to say, goodbye.